I'm Sheriff Paul Babeu. I'm proudly elected as the Sheriff of Pinell County, sandwiched in between Metro Phoenix and Metro Tucson. We're the fastest growing county in Arizona. We're standing up on the side of citizens that oppose photo radar, that you cannot replace a police officer or a sheriff deputy, that we will be reasonable and prudent in how we actually implement the law.
Well, I've never liked photo radar ever since I saw the vans in PV back, I want to say the late 80s, early 90s. Just doesn't seem like a real law enforcement technique. It's always seemed like it was about money and just trying to shake down the public and create revenue. But they make it sound like it improves safety, and I just don't believe that it does, and I think the numbers bear that out.
There's a perishable trust that you hold with anybody who wears a badge, carries a gun, and the same with all of our citizens. And when we start to take away from our true intent is to protect our families in Arizona, and we're starting to be used, as former Governor Napolitano said, to collect $90 to $130 million for the government because, hey, we need the money, and let's put up these photo cameras all over our highways and on our rural roads. That's the wrong way to do it. And when we in law enforcement get tied to that, and we are silent in that process, that's wrong. And that's a corrupting influence on us, because now you and the rest of the public will look at us as like, we sold you out. We're walking down that same path to give up your rights as a private citizen. That is the most important public office, that of a private citizen. And when we in law enforcement forget that, then there's trouble.
A few people come up and they have some questions, but the more info that you can give them, or the more info I give them, the more that they really don't like the system and realize how many problems it has and how unfair it is and how really it's illegal and unconstitutional. So it's good to get out there to educate people and tell them about the facts that maybe they don't know about, even if they don't like the system to begin with.
And I think that not only myself, a number of police chiefs who aren't at liberty to speak out publicly because they have bosses, they work for an assistant manager of the city or the city manager or the mayor and council who are elected officials, and the police chief often doesn't want to get in the middle of controversy. But I can tell you the solid majority of cops say you cannot replace a police officer, you cannot replace a deputy, that we're going to not only address speeding, but we're going to see if a person has a driver's license or insurance for their vehicle. This is why we have some of the highest insurance costs in America right here in Arizona. What if the person is drunk or impaired by drugs? What if there's a warrant for that person's arrest? All of these things that are not addressed by photo radar. So clearly it points to the whole intent is purely to tax our citizens without due process, and that's wrong.
The strongest argument for me has to be the fact that it's unconstitutional both for the United States and for Arizona, and it was just pushed through by our former governor and some state legislators, and it really never was looked at that closely, and it's pretty obvious that it was definitely about money. It was about generating revenue for a state that has a budget shortfall that's the largest in our history, and the worse things got, the more they tried to use this as kind of a Band-Aid or a fix and pass it off as something that's about safety. And there's no evidence that it's making the roads any safer.
How does it feel to sign the petition to end photo radar?
It feels great. I'm glad to be a part of it, and I wish everyone would jump on board.
Do you plan to gather signatures yourself?
Yes, I do. I fought for 6 years for our freedom, and I'd like to see that we can keep those freedoms.